You are connected, and you are listening to Specifically for Seniors, the podcast for those in the Remember When generation. Today's podcast is available everywhere you listen to podcasts and with video at Specifically for Seniors YouTube channel. Now, here's your host, Dr. Larry Barsh.
I ask every guest who visits on Specifically for Seniors to fill out a guest registration form.
Oh,
this gives me enough information to do a decent introduction and maybe a way to start a conversation.
yeah, I love that.
So here's what you told me. 1, my name is Matt Fear. Right so far?
So far, 1 for 1. You're batting 100. Larry.
Okay.
Well done.
Number 2. I love improv.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And number 3.
That goes back and forth. It's kind of a, like anything that you do, you start doing as a passion and then you start doing for a living. It has its ups and its downs.
And number 3, you love ice cream sandwiches.
Oh my God.
So there's no other way to start a conversation. What is it specifically you love about ice cream sandwiches? The shape, the cookies, the ice cream?
I mean, Larry, yes. All of those things I feel make inherently a good ice cream sandwich. I feel like there's the classic, right? You've got the when you think classic ice cream sandwich, we're thinking the same thing, right? We're thinking those like rectangular shaped things with the chocolate wafer,
right?
Vanilla ice cream and chocolate wafer, right? You get it at, you had it when you were a kid. I don't care what generation you are. You had it as a kid. Like ice cream sandwiches have been around, I believe, since the Bible.
Or 1899, either, whichever came first.
Yeah, well, if you're Mormon, that is the Bible.
And
but then there's like everything now, they've just made it better. So now there's you can get there's a food truck in Boston. You can go and you can choose the kind of cookie you want, and you can choose the kind of ice cream you'd like.
okay, so that's what I've got for background, and
I did not do a good job of filling out the survey. I'm sorry, Larry.
Now what do we do? Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Who and what is Matt Fear?
Who and what is Matt Fear? I'm 47 years old and I'm still trying to figure that out, Larry. I don't know. I'm a first-time dad. I'm a first-time homeowner. I'm just trying to make my way through the world, and I've stumbled upon something I can do that is not like a normal job, right? Like I kind of threw away the option of doing just having a regular 9 to 5, so I could do improv for a living, so I could figure out how to do improv for a living. And thankfully my wife is very supportive and she has a stable job. And she supports my artistic endeavors, I guess. But bringing improv to people is important to me, and it's become more and more important to me as these last few years, especially now that I have a daughter. Right, I'm trying to bring laughter into a world that she's going to inherit.
Speaking of your daughter, I took your improv course.
You did,
and
that's how we met. That's how we met, Larry.
And
tell the people what they want to know.
One of the games you use is to answer a question with a question.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
you want to play it?
When your daughter asks you a question,
Uh-huh.
do you answer her with a question?
Sometimes, like if I'm practicing, I use my daughter for improv practice all the time. Like because I can say anything to her and she's like, yeah, that's great. Let's do it. So I make up like I sing songs to her that like I'm just making up about things that we're doing. And I'm trying to be like, okay, this is what I would do in an improv show. So let's work the muscle a little bit. And she loves that. She loves to sing with dad.
Did,
And then I just talk to her like a person. It's the best thing to do for a 2-year-old is to just talk to them like they're a grown person already, and just have conversations with yourself.
did you always want to be in theater?
Um, yeah, I did. I didn't. Yeah, I remember in junior high, doing like a reading of a play or something. Like it was just something like we were doing as a class where we were holding our scripts and whatever. And I really wanted to I was like, oh, I want to be the lead. I want to be the like, and I wasn't, and I was heartbroken. And I said, I'll show them. Uh, no, I just always wanted to do it, And then I got into the musicals at my high school. Um, and I grew up in a very small town, like a very small community. Like the town I grew up in was 3,100 people. It's in Illinois. The town is, or excuse me, the county I grew up in is the largest county in the state with the smallest population. So it's all farmland. If you ever get a chance to read a book called Across Five Aprils, um, it's about the Civil War, and it takes place in Jasper County. I was forced to read it many times when I was a kid because it's like, hey, there's not much local history. Here you go. But so my high school didn't do much in the way of we did one musical a year, but we also had band and choir, so I did both of those. And my choir director did the musicals, and she was very much a very brash and brazen woman, and she inspired me a lot and really kind of pushed me. And I took voice lessons from her, and we did, she was like, you're doing the musicals. If I'm working this hard with you, you're doing these musicals. So I just kind of got bit by it. And then when I got to college, it was over. I was like, oh, I can just be in theater all the time and not really do classes. Sure. And that's why I was in college for 6 years.
What you sort of improved your courses?
Oh my God, Larry, that's a whole nother podcast, is me talking about my college experience. I had a great time in college. I was not a great college student. I wasn't a good student at all.
Why improv as opposed to theater, stand-up, scripts, sets?
Don't get me wrong. I love what we would call the quote unquote legitimate theater. Love it, love it, love it. I haven't done it in a while because that's one of those things, like it's hard to get into if you're not like, you have to really, really put in the work if you want to be a working like actor, like it, what is it? What's the union that they have?
SAG.
If you want to be a SAG, like I know a lot of SAG actors and the stage union, actors equity. That's what it's called. Thank you. Sorry, don't hate me, friends. That's a lot of work. Improv just kind of like, I found that I could do it. And I found that it was like, it's very accessible to me. I don't have to memorize lines, which is great. I just kind of have to like know what it all means in my head, and I do, and I've done it so much that it just kind of sticks. And I know when I go into a workshop, I know what I'm doing. I know what the workshop is. I know who the people are, and I know how improv is going to help them, because it's pretty standard across the board. So it just kind of was the path of kind of least resistance, I guess. But I'm getting back into theater a little bit. I'm directing. I started a new job as a high school drama instructor, not instructor, but I'm the director of the club. They have a drama club. They don't have a drama class at a local high school that's about 5 minutes from my house. It's great. We're doing The Lightning Thief, which is the Percy Jackson musical. It's all Olympians and gods and goddesses and mythology, and it's pretty fun.
And you're also lead producer of Improv Boston.
Yep.
And an improv instructor there as well.
Yeah. I've been teaching improv for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't tell me that. I had to look it up on LinkedIn. That's how much. That's how much background work I did on you.
See, Larry, I knew you'd do the work, so I didn't have to.
Yeah, I did a whole line. Right.
Yeah, your listeners, your viewers are going to be like, who is this guy?
So tell me more about being lead producer of Improv Boston. What's Improv Boston?
Well, Improv Boston's a 40-year-old improv theater based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, of all places. And it was in Inman Square for a while, and then it moved to Central Square. And I came into Improv Boston back in 2014, and immediately started taking classes, and went through all the classes. I believe it was a 7-level course, like 7-level program, and each class is like 8 weeks. And I went up through the ranks. I worked as an intern. I was a 37-year-old intern, Larry. I had bosses that were 22 and fresh out of college, or sometimes a couple still in college, that were my bosses as an intern. I felt like Robert De Niro in that movie that he did with Anne Hathaway, where he plays an intern to her. But I became a house manager and kind of worked my way up. I got on the touring company and started doing out gigs and shows, and then the pandemic hit and everything shut down, and we lost our space. I lost countless amount of work, and then once we kind of started on the upswing, after the worst of it was over, and we started coming back out of our shells a little bit, they were like, Matt, would you like to like help Improv Boston come out of the pandemic? And I'm like, sure, let's give it a go. So we're just trying to make our way now, but we still have classes. We still we have a comedy school, which I'm now in charge of, since that's a little nugget you don't have off of LinkedIn. I just got that gig and haven't updated my LinkedIn yet. So there you go. I'm lead producer and managing of the comedy school. So I manage about 7 or 8 instructors that do classes like 4 nights a week.
Okay, for personal information,
Mm-hmm.
I have a granddaughter.
Yeah.
Who did her first stand-up set just out of the blue, and she's planning to do more. What advice do you have for her?
Oh man, keep doing it. Like if you can do it and you're into it and you're excited about it, keep doing it, because it gets easier the more you do it, right? Like I don't do stand-up. I mean, I've done stand-up before, but being alone on stage and having to have it be like material that I know that I've written and like worked on, and having that much judgment come at me from an audience. Like when you do improv, they like the audience knows you're making it up. So they are like, okay, sure, anything you say I'm into, right? But if you're doing stand up, the audience is like, well, they wrote that, they thought about that, and that's what they came up with. No, thank you. So if your granddaughter is into it and has already done one open mic and wants to do another one, ride that momentum as long as you can. Like keep going and know that it's gonna suck for a while, but that's okay because it does get better. Like once you hit it, it's great. It's those nights that you miss that make it hard to do all the time, you know?
You mentioned before, I think you said something about the importance of improv and why people should learn how to improvise off the cuff.
Well, I think it makes us better. It just makes us better communicators, right? Like improv is about being kind of in the moment and living in the present. And I feel like if people would do that with each other more, they would listen better to each other and maybe communication wouldn't break down as quickly as it does sometimes. If people would just listen, respond, react, right? Which is what we tell people to do in improv scenes. Just take a breath and go with it, and accept accept the ideas that are being handed to you, and then add your own stuff to them. It's just a true form of collaboration, and I feel like collaboration's where it's at. Why do a project by myself when I can work with other amazing people, and then we're all proud of what we did, and then I have people to share it with when we're done, right? It's not just me sitting in a room going, yes, I did that. I'm amazing. That can get lonely.
So how do we do that on a podcast?
How do we do it on a podcast? We're doing it right now, Larry. We're living in the moment. We're two guys having a conversation. This is great.
That sort of ended the conversation.
Yeah, that did, didn't it? Once I called it out.
Yeah.
Great job, Matt. Great job.
All right, I'm just going to have some coffee and we'll go on.
Yeah, let's just have some coffee. What kind of coffee? Let me interview you for a second, Larry. What kind of coffee do you like to drink?
Brown.
Yeah,
it's.
Are you a straight shooter when it comes to coffee? Like put it in the cup, nothing else?
Yeah, well, that happened when I was interning. Because I was working the ER for a year, and the coffee condiments, one looked like an oil slick, on a boat that had capsized somewhere.
Yeah.
And the sugar moved.
Condiments are either, that's the true, I think, tell of a classy joint is if they're like sweeteners and creams and everything are all like, it's clean and nice, and I feel good about putting things in my coffee. Right. But I've definitely seen that.
And not where the milk products expired several centuries earlier.
Yeah. I've definitely been there. That's actually been my fridge. I remember clearing out, we've all done that, right? Where we clean out our fridge and we're like, hey, I haven't used this mustard in 12 years.
I haven't
even lived here for 12 years, Larry. Where did the mustard come from? That's the question.
You brought it from the last place, obviously.
I obviously just, like, when you pack, you just throw stuff in a box. You don't actually, like, I don't know. My wife is very different. When I pack, I just take everything and just shove it into a box and then go and then sort it out later. She sorts it now, and then it makes it a lot easier to unpack. Do you have a brand of coffee that you go for? Sorry, I'm still on coffee. I was a barista for a while, so coffee is kind of my thing. I
Okay.
enjoy.
Oh, you want to talk coffee? I
Coffee.
have been tempted to try Death Wish coffee.
You know what? I see ads for them all the time. I don't. Do you have a sponsorship for them? Do they sponsor your podcast? Because then you could get free Death Wish coffee.
Well, let's find out.
Yeah,
Hey,
just say
Death
their name
Wish.
enough.
Hey, Death Wish. If you're listening, we can arrange a sponsorship program that will fill all your needs.
All your needs.
And it will probably add, one or two people to your subscriber list.
You're from Canton, right? You live in Canton now, right? Now. Have you had Red Barn coffee?
No.
That is a coffee you should try. Like if we're talking, it's a local brand that I used to work for, and I live in Upton now. My wife and I and baby just moved to Upton, and this is where their roastery is in Hopkinton, which is just the town next to us. So I feel good like plugging them on your podcast because it's coffee that people could get, and they're really cool, and they're a nice like mom and pop shop that started a long time ago, literally out of a Red Barn, and now they're Red Barn Coffee.
So you know this area?
A little bit, not a lot. I mean, I've lived only lived in the Massachusetts for almost like just over 10 years. I moved here in 2014, almost 10 years. Yeah, 2014.
I'm from the Boston area my whole life. I still don't know where. I still don't know where Canton is. It's one of those towns. They tell me it's next to Stoughton, which doesn't help at all.
Like what? Yeah, what's that do? There are 50 towns out here that are within 5 miles of each other. All of them. Like they're all. That's one thing I really like about this area is that literally you can drive 10 minutes in any direction and you hit a different you can hit a different town. And it's cool. They've all got stuff in them. And it's really a nice little New England experience. Fall is the best time in New England, and we're coming out of it. Like the trees are naked now. So it's not as pretty when I look out of my window, but it's still not like New England in the fall and winter is when we shine, I think.
We older adults prefer you don't use the term fall. Autumn would be more appropriate. Yeah, I mean it's just a little touchy sort of.
As long as you don't say autumn years, because that's also you don't want to say that either.
Yeah, and you don't want to listen to September song very much either. No,
autumnal. I like the word autumnal. I think that's an interesting use of the word autumnal. I just like that.
What's it like getting up in front of a crowd? I'm beginning to learn in front of one person with no script, no idea where you're going. When I do a usual podcast, I have it pretty well outlined.
Yeah. But this is improv. Now, see, Larry, we're improvising. We're just See, this is great. It all comes together.
We don't have the hecklers though. We need hecklers.
No. I tell you what, Larry, I've had people need to know that they can't just talk to people on stage. It's the worst thing in the world. It is like you just you lose your momentum and you're just like, okay, well, I guess we're doing this now. You were saying you were asking a question.
What was the question?
Something about how do I do it? How do you go out on stage and do it?
Yeah, how do you go out on stage and do it? Do you start with a concept or
it? So what we teach in our classes is we teach you like having a tool. It's like having a tool belt. Okay, so you're familiar with Batman, yeah? Are you a fan of Batman?
Big fan of Batman.
Big fan of Batman. Me too. And Batman has
Robin, not so much.
Well, Robin can, there were so many of him. There were, they all died, and a different one came in. The Robin character very tragic, but Batman specifically, he has his tool belt, he has his utility belt, and he's always got something, like he knows where to go to grab whatever, the shark repellent or the batarang or the grappling hook or whatever, right? So if you think about that in terms of improv, like when you take improv classes and you start like just doing improv, you start getting little tricks that you put in your utility belt. You start getting moves and like ideas and concepts and different things that you can do in an improv show. You have different things that you can all put in that utility belt. So then when you go out on stage, like, yeah, you don't have anything planned. Like you don't have anything as far as like character ideas or plot or like jokes or anything like that. That's all the stuff that you make up. But everything else, like moves and ideas and concepts and things like that, you have so much of that already, right? So you're not going out empty-handed. You've got all these things that that you can pull from, right? It's like, oh, I know I can do crazy characters, so I know if I hunch my back a little bit and do a little voice, I have a character and I can do whatever I want now. I can be whoever I want now, but this is the main part of it. So,
all right, a serious question.
I will give you a serious answer.
All right. What was Batman's favorite ice cream sandwich?
That is a great question. I believe it was double Gotham fudge.
And how did he order it?
He usually ordered it like the bat signal would go out, and there would they would just hold the bag out, and he would drive by in the bat car and just grab it. They'd have it ready for him. Because he had to have it whenever he would go out on a mission. Like when he'd come back, it's like when you leave, when you're done with the show or you've just had a surgery. You just had a surgery and you want to go have a beer with your friends down at the surgeon's pub.
That's a stretch,
right?
No, that doesn't seem to go.
I lost steam about halfway through that. I was like,
yeah, that one didn't go.
Larry's like, maybe we won't put this one out. Maybe this will be one of those podcasts that I just kind of tuck away into a corner, and I'll replay the one where I interviewed someone more important.
Like who?
I don't know. Who are some of the people you've had on your show? Have you had any famous people on your show?
Well, I've got one now.
Oh,
I've got
you flatterer.
Yeah, I've got the wait a minute, lead producer of ImprovBoston. Even if I had to look that up,
and also the drama instructor at Nipmuc Regional High School in Upton, Massachusetts. See, my accolades are far and vast.
How do we get people involved in improv? How do we get people to relax? To do stuff like this? Did we screw up? Yeah, maybe. But how do we get people interacting and relaxing? I know the course I took with you was way, way, way too short.
Yeah.
4 lessons, and you just begin to relax a little bit. You just that's what I can say.
Yeah.
And it's all right if I say it in front of this group of people that I didn't think would accept that kind of sort of off-color comment.
Yeah. I feel like, our classes are 8 weeks. Like our regular classes at ImprovBoston are 8 weeks long. And I feel like even those can be a little on the short side. I'm teaching a level 2 class right now, and we've got our last classes this coming Monday. And I'm a little bummed out about it. I'm like, oh, these guys are really, like, I'm just starting to get in the groove with these folks. I think that one thing that people do when they take our classes is they find a group that they like to perform with, or they like to like learn with, and then they'll go off and start practicing on their own outside of class, and then they bring in somebody like me that was like their instructor a couple sessions ago, and I have some free time. They have a night that they want to do a rehearsal, and then I'll come in and coach them. Right. So I do that with a group right now. And I've been with them for a little over a year, I think. And like, I still see things that they grow. Like, it's like there's no definitive time frame. Like, yeah, you can get it and get ideas and like form connections in a workshop if you're zoned in, right? Like it could be a 4-hour workshop and you could get as much out of it as you could an 8-week class. But it's really just doing it over and over again with the same people that you like doing improv with, and then it gets so much easier. So it's really the advice I would give to people that are like maybe like I don't want to, like I'm nervous about it. It's like an improv class is the least judgmental place you will ever be in your entire life. Like it is, you walk into an improv class and it's like everybody there is just as scared as you, especially if it's a beginning improv class. Everybody is just as scared as you. They don't know what the heck's going on either, right? And you just have to breathe through it and settle in and realize that nobody's going to judge you. You can literally say anything. Now, that being said, when I say literally say anything, right? Like within reason, within the social contract, right? Don't be, don't be a jerk. Don't be a bigot. Like we don't ask a lot of people, right? We just ask that people respect other people and that people aren't jerks. I think that's pretty easy. And that develops that kind of
camaraderie.
Camaraderie and it's like an environment. It's a safe. You hear the word safe space, right? It creates that safe space that people can take creative risks, and improv is about taking creative risks. Because you're getting up there with no parachute. You're just getting up there, and that's terrifying. Plain and simple.
Yeah, I hosted a live radio show at one time.
Mm-hmm.
2 hours on a Sunday morning at 7 a.m. when,
been there, Larry.
Both people listened. My son described it. My son was a TV director for a while.
Uh-huh.
And he described it as like being on top of a hill in a car with no brakes. The only thing you had was the steering wheel, and there was nothing you could do about it.
I worked in radio for a while, so yeah, I know that. I know that feeling all too well. I used to work at a country music radio station in Mattoon, Illinois. WMCI was the were the call letters. I still remember that. Yeah, WMCI. And every Sunday morning from I think 5 or maybe like 4 to 6, there was a show called Country Memories. And I had to go get a special stack of CDs. They all had a gold cover on them because they were sent to the radio station, And these were like the old, like Waylon Jennings, Tammy Wynette, like Conway Twitty, Hank Williams, like all the early Johnny Cash, early everybody, and there was always one woman that would call every Sunday and request the same song. She wanted me to play it every Sunday. And I did every time she'd call. I don't remember her name now, but I knew her. Like I waited for her call, and she would call and she'd be like, "Hi, Matt," and I'd be like, "Hi, you ready for your song?" And she's like, "Yep, I'm ready." I'm like, "Okay, it'll be coming up in the next song or two." She's like, "Thank you." I would never play it until she called, but I'd have it on deck, ready to go.
Mine was filling in for a radio call-in doc.
Oh, wow. So you were taking calls
on WBZ radio in Boston.
Which is like big. Yeah, no, that.
Well, Sunday morning,
like
not
small town radio.
Yeah, it's Sunday morning. It reached out to Chicago to get a listener.
Hey, that means you're national.
Oh, yeah. 26
Come on, Larry.
26 bucks an hour.
I should be interviewing you. You've got a way more interesting life than
I. I had one caller. We were doing a show. I'm a dentist, so I was playing "I Am Your Dentist" as the lead-in from Little Shop of Horrors. Which
I love that. Oh, I love that show so much, Larry. That is one of my favorite shows. Oh my goodness!
Now see. That's
a good boy.
That's
improv right there.
Now, usually, I cut that out.
Just leave it.
But I'm leaving it because he saw a friend of his outside, and he's been pretty good so far. Anyhow, I had one guy call in. We were talking about dentistry's role in snoring and sleep apnea.
Mm.
And this guy wanted help because his cellmate was ready to kill him because he snored.
So you got a call from the Department of Corrections.
Yeah. I accepted charges because nobody else was calling that morning.
Why not? Right? Hey, it wasn't your money. It was the radio station's money.
Look, another 73 cents shot to hell. It was sort of fun. I had a friend of mine come in and fill in because 2 hours is too long to talk about anything. And he showed up in a shirt, tie, suit. And I said, "What about the concept of radio do you not understand?"
Right. Yeah. Like, what are you doing? That's one thing I loved about radio so much is I could just stroll in wearing anything I wanted. I worked the overnight shift, so I was the overnight DJ. So I didn't start until midnight, and I went until like 6 or 7, whenever the next person came in. So if they were late, I stayed. And usually they were late. I had to call and wake them up a few times while I was there, and I was so mad. I got snowed in have you ever been snowed in at a radio station?
No, this was just a part-time.
Oh yeah, no, I got snowed in at a radio station once. I didn't get people got snowed out of the radio station, and I was the only one that agreed to have someone come and pick them up and take them to the radio station to live there until they could get somebody else in. Back in my college days, I was like, sure, I'll go stay at the radio station for upwards of 28 hours.
I always wanted to be a DJ.
It was fun.
When I was a kid.
Fun. Yeah, it wasn't like I worked at one station that was CDs, like, playing I had 3 CD players, and I'd have to cue them up and hit play after each song. But then the main radio station I worked at was one that it was all computerized. It was all, I just hit a button and it would, like, I could walk away and leave the building and go wherever I wanted to and come back, and the radio station would still be running. I just had to be there, so, I'd have friends over. We'd sit and play cards. It was working an overnight shift. We'd sit and play cards in the studio, and like, guys, I got to go record the weather. I'll be right back. That was it.
We were doing it during the Gulf War, so we had all the cut-ins and
yeah.
and but I got to read commercials. Speaking of commercials, let's do a
Yeah.
plug for Improv Boston.
Let's do a plug for Improv Boston. Yeah, check us out, ImprovBoston.com. We have classes in sketch, stand up, improv, musical improv. So yeah, even if you don't want to do improv, if you'd rather do sketch, if you fancy yourself a little bit of a playwright, you could come and take a sketch class. We have a really great sketch instructor. His name's Michael Trainer, and he has some absolutely hilarious things that he's put up on the internet. He's a very, very funny man, and he teaches a good sketch class. He's also a really nice guy. So, so that's a fun class. Stand-up classes are always fun. We have 3 amazing stand-up instructors at Improv Boston that are all gifted stand-ups. One, I mean, and they're pretty, like, they work a lot around the area. So they're all just really, really fun people. And with our stand-up classes, you basically work and you develop a 5-minute set, and then at the end of the class, they do a showcase where they can invite family and friends, and everybody does their set, and you meet friends, you go to open mics together, all kinds of good stuff. So if you're looking for like a group, like if you're looking to meet new people, what better place to meet new people than an improv class, right? You could. People have met, and I know people that have met their future spouse in an improv class, or you can meet your new best friend. I mean, that's a good plug right there. Meet your new best friend, Improv Boston.
You used the word playwright?
Did I use the word what?
Playwright?
Playwright?
What was the word you used? If you're a playwright.
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 I said playwright. Yeah.
Playwright, I understand.
Playwright. Yeah. I just said it weird because sometimes I pronounce words like that because I hear it pronounced somewhere else like that, and I think it's funny, so I will say it like that. Makes no sense.
What? Sort of like this whole podcast.
Well, it's specifically for seniors.
Yeah.
I love the title.
It is impossible to say, and even more impossible to type.
You did that to yourself, Larry.
The word specifically is just awful.
Specifically is a hard word, and you put it in big letters, just right there.
It doesn't type well. No, what did we miss? Is there anything we should cover?
Yeah, I think let's talk about. You talked about Little Shop. You talked about musicals. I'm a musical guy. What are your favorite? Do you have any favorite musicals? Are you a musical guy? Do you like musicals outside of that little stint into Little Shop of Horrors?
Yeah, we lucked out. We got to see some really good original musicals. Camelot with Julie Andrews, Robert.
Wow! So you saw Julie Andrews on Broadway?
Yeah, Richard. Who was
Burton?
Richard Burton and Robert Goulet.
What?
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, we got to see the producers, not with the original cast, however.
I saw producers on Broadway as well, and it was the guy playing Max was the guy that played the playwright Hans Liebken. In the original cast, he was Hans Liebken or Franz Liebken, but now he was playing. When I saw it, he was playing Max. So he had been promoted.
It was one of those shows where we were standing outside waiting to see if they had any tickets, and the woman came out and said, "Is there a 2 out here?" And we said, "Yeah." She said, "Would you like 7th row center orchestra?" So, oh my God, yeah.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Yeah.
How much did you pay for those, if you don't mind me asking?
It was, I have no recollection, but it was not a big deal.
Really?
I think it was like $75. It was a matinee.
I tell you what, theater is so kind of like, I'm hoping it gets better, and it might be on the upswing of this, but it's so inaccessible for people that can't afford to, like, they're doing in Worcester, Matt, which is like half an hour from. I'm actually a little bit closer to Worcester than I am to Boston, where I currently live. They're doing Beetlejuice. Great show, really fun. I looked at ticket prices. $500 for a ticket. $500. I'm like, are you kidding me? Who's like, I don't know, maybe I'm not as successful as I think I am. If I don't have just $500 laying around to go see a show in Worcester, Massachusetts. Not saying anything about Worcester. Worcester's a great town. The Hanover is a wonderful theater, but $500?
And you can see the original on TV.
I'll watch Michael Keaton for free.
Speaking of Michael Keaton, the best Batman there was.
Okay, sure.
And I'm sticking by that.
I agree. Michael Keaton, yes. I've got a controversial opinion, if you'll hear me out.
As long as you don't say Ben Affleck.
No. Ben Affleck was a mediocre Batman at best. I will say this. Michael Keaton, 100%, he is my Batman. A close second, though, Val Kilmer. I enjoyed Val Kilmer's Batman. Batman Forever, the one with Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones, is one of my favorite. It's my third favorite Batman movie, which is funny because it's the third Batman movie.
It's funny. You get into talking about superheroes.
I'm kind of a superhero nerd, Larry. I like all the superhero movies. Yeah,
Deadpool, without a doubt.
Hands down, the best of the best. Like Ryan Reynolds.
At least the first 20 minutes of the first film.
I think just from start to finish, first to second, they're both perfect movies, and I could not be more excited about the third Deadpool movie. Like, I've never been this excited about a superhero trilogy. I would say the Spider-Man, the Tom Holland Spider-Man trilogy has been very good as well. Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds he's a funny dude, and he's a good dude. Like, you don't see that a lot in Hollywood, but at least like he's really good at like projecting that good dude energy, you know?
Yeah, I was in a restaurant where I'm living, and one of the waiters was wearing a Venom T-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, see, this is something that people don't understand about old people, especially ones who used to be professionals.
Mm-hmm.
I'm supposed to say things like Brahms, Beethoven. I'm supposed to say things like Peloponnesia. And here we are talking about...
That's a good word.
Yeah. It's easier to say than specifically. That's
it could have been Peloponnesia for seniors, but that's a different podcast.
See, now, don't interrupt the senior because it just goes... Anyhow, I said Venom, not so much Deadpool. And the kid just looked at me.
Yeah.
Who and what is that? An old guy said Venom? So...
You're like... Y'all enjoy, like, why not? You can let your hair down and enjoy what you want to enjoy. You've put in your professional time. You're like, now it's time to relax and enjoy the world, and those are good things to enjoy.
And I think that's one of the problems that we have as a generation have. We're expected to act like old people. There are expectations of how someone in their late 80s is supposed to act.
Yeah.
I'm
And this
supposed
is
to recall the days in high school as being marvelous. I'm supposed to enjoy sitting through a 3 or 4 hour concert of the Magic Flute,
right.
the
Yeah.
worst 4 hours of my life.
It's funny, Larry, that you say that, because like that's one thing that I'm also like we also combat in improv a lot is like stereotypes, and one of the big ones that I fight people on specifically, I use the word is ageism. You get a lot of like improv is a predominantly younger thing. Like a lot of like younger people are into it, but also there are a lot of seniors involved in improv. There just are, especially in New England. Like there's a they just had a big uh, festival called the Vintage Improv Festival up in Maine, and I used to coach a team called the Elderberry Jam that were all seniors. It was a 60 plus team, and they were hilarious. So when I see a younger improviser go out and play a grandfather, and they always play him like the guy from Up, right? I stop the scene and I'm like, hey, that's not cool. You can't do that, right? Like you can be a grandpa, sure, you be a grandpa, but you be a grandpa that does stuff, because grandpas do stuff. Grandpas aren't just a thing, right? They're not just a caricature of Ed Asner, right? Like it, you can be like, just do it. Like, don't make the age of the person the defining thing of the person, right? Make other things that, and make the age just like an ornament on the tree, right? Make it just a thing that adds a little something to it, but doesn't focus on it, right? And it's amazing that you have to like. Obviously, there are things, like you gotta you don't like race and things like that. You have and sexual orientation and things like that. You can't like those are all things, but people don't see age as something that can do that. But it, you just
We've had a number of serious conversations on this podcast
I
about
know,
ageism. Uh, and one of the things that comes out is that we are probably our own worst enemies when it comes to that, because
yeah,
we tend to start behaving like we're criticizing people for making fun of us behaving like we do.
yeah.
So,
But you've got to like. I guess that's not a reason to not say something, right? I feel like any improviser over the age of 60, if they're in a group with younger people and they see them doing some BS, they just have to be like, hey, cut it out. Or no, like, don't come at them like that, but, have the conversation. Be like, hey, I noticed that you did this. And just so you know, like, that's not okay. And I'll give them a chance to be like, you know what, you're 100% right. I'm sorry, it won't happen again. Now, if they're like, nah, whatever, it's just like, then you can be like, listen, pal, go sit down. Like let the adults do improv.
yeah,
You
and
go
don't
do
and don't watch Venom anymore because
and stop
it's
it. Yeah.
bad. Matt, this is
See, we filled an hour. We
yeah,
did. It was okay. Not once did I say we're never going to do it.
yeah, you sort of implied
I did,
it.
yeah.
So
And honestly, around the 17-minute mark, I was like, I don't know that I'm going to have enough to say. But we did it. We made it.
There we go.
And then we freeze.
And then
Credit.
then the electric company turns off the lights, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Matt, this was great fun.
Thanks, Larry. I had a great time.
Come back and give more courses.
Yeah, you reach out to me and let me know, and I will be there. That goes for anybody watching the podcast. If you are like, hey, I'd like to bring Matt in to talk with me or my friends about improv, feel free at any point. My email is I don't know. You can put it in the comments of the podcast.
Yeah, if you gave it to me. You didn't even do that.
My
name is Matt Fear.
You know my email. You emailed me stuff, Larry, so I just assumed you knew my email.
Well, I know it, but they don't know it.
Right, but you have to tell them. I'm not going to tell you how to do your podcast,
Why
Larry,
me?
but you need to find guests that fill out your stuff and not these a-holes that don't fill out the things that you give them to fill out.
Okay, so for anybody who's interested and wants to get in touch with Matt Fear, look on the side of any good humor truck that sells ice cream sandwiches,
and I'm there.
And you'll find his email.
I can't eat them as much as I used to, though, but that's all right. The occasional one is still good. Email is matt.fear@improvboston.com.
See? I got him to tell you.
Yeah.
There you go. Matt, this is...
And Larry's phone number is 555.
1212, yeah.
1212.
Matt, this has been great fun. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Larry.
Take care.
Yep.
If you found this podcast interesting, fun, or helpful, tell your friends and family. And click on the follow or subscribe button. We'll let you know when new episodes are available. You've been listening to Specifically for Seniors. We'll talk more next time. Stay connected.